Left. No, your other left. Julian stood behind the little travel trailer with both hands raised, trying to guide me between two faded yellow lines at the storage lot. I had the driver's window down, and my head turned far enough to remind me I was 65. I only brought one left, I called back. Maya laughed from beside the fence. Theo laughed because she did. Erin stood near our two cars with a paper cup in one hand and her purse tucked under her arm, watching me turn a 6-minute job into a public exhibition. The trailer was 17 feet long, sun-faded white with a brown stripe from another decade. The table wobbled. The air conditioner complained before it produced any cold air. One cabinet door opened whenever I made a sharp right turn. But it was mine. I had paid for it from a separate trip fund I had been building for nearly 4 years. When I finally got the trailer straight, Julian walked to the driver's door and tapped the metal twice. "How much did you pay for this thing?" I told him. His eyebrows went up. "Dad." "What?" "You're retired." I noticed. "I'm serious. A trailer, storage, insurance, gas for a long trip. You're living too large." He said it in the tone he used when Theo tried to carry a full glass across the carpet, patient on the surface, already expecting a spill. Erin looked down at her cup. Maya stopped smiling. Julian leaned one arm on the open window. "I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying you need to think ahead. You can't burn through your savings and assume we'll be able to take care of you later." For a second, all I heard was the dry rattle of cottonwood leaves beyond the fence. There are times when a man's first answer is honest. There are other times when it is only hot. I had spent 34 years in hospital purchasing, learning not to confuse urgency with importance. So I did not tell my son that the family he thought might someday have to support me was already resting on 41 payments he had never seen. I shut off the engine, climbed down, and locked the trailer hitch. Julian must have taken my silence for embarrassment. He softened his voice. "I just don't want you getting in over your head." "I heard you." That was all I said. We drove away in separate cars. I watched his gray SUV turn east toward their rental house while I headed back toward my apartment near Central Avenue. At home, I put my keys in the blue bowl by the door, poured coffee I did not need, and opened the laptop at my kitchen table. The file was called JVE Household Continuity. That title should tell you something about me. I had supervised purchasing, medical supply inventory, and vendor contracts for a regional hospital network. If an operating room ran short of sterile gloves, nobody cared that the supplier had made an understandable mistake. If an oxygen vendor changed its delivery schedule, we needed another source before the first truck failed to arrive. My job was to see the empty shelf while it was still half full. When Julian lost his salaried position, I treated his household the same way. The arrangement was supposed to last 6 months. 32 months later, the spreadsheet contained 41 active obligations. They were not 41 full monthly utility bills. 22 came every month, 7 were quarterly, 6 came twice a year, and 6 renewed annually. Together they formed the fixed layer underneath a household: electricity, water, phone lines, internet, insurance installments, a hospital payment plan from Theo's broken wrist, 2 credit card minimums, after-school care, school activity fees, the storage unit, roadside assistance, vehicle registrations, security service, and smaller renewals that were easy to ignore until they stopped working. Julian and Erin paid the rent, groceries, gasoline, clothes, and ordinary daily expenses. They were not living without contributing. But my average share had settled between $1,700 and $1,900 a month. I had a hospital pension, Social Security, modest savings, and occasional consulting work. Helping them had not bankrupted me. It had kept me taking consulting jobs I did not need for myself, delayed my trip, and made every personal purchase feel as though it required a family vote nobody knew they were taking. On the screen, 41 green marks showed the next scheduled payments. I opened the first account and moved the cursor over Remove Payment Method. Then I stopped. The electric bill was due in 9 days, Their auto insurance drafted in 12. Theo's after-school program billed at the start of the next month. I was angry, but anger was not a transition plan. I opened a new document and typed a notice to Aaron. Effective immediately, I will discontinue payment of all household obligations currently funded through my accounts. Please replace the listed payment methods according to the attached schedule. It was clean, accurate, cold enough to keep meat. I read it twice and saw exactly what I was doing. I was preparing to communicate with my son through his wife, which was how we had created the problem in the first place. I deleted the message and called Erin. She answered on the fourth ring. "Everything okay?" "No," I said. "Julian needs to know." There was a pause. "About the trailer?" "About the bills." A cabinet closed in the background. "Tom, he was out of line." He was uninformed. "He's under a lot of pressure." "So are you." She lowered her voice. "Can we talk tomorrow?" "All three of us." "I need a little time." "You've had 32 months. That's not fair." "No," I said. "It isn't." She was quiet. I looked at the spreadsheet. "I'm ending the payments. Not tonight. I'm giving you 45 days to replace the payment methods. Nothing essential gets interrupted without notice. But I'm not keeping this from him another week. Please don't begin with the total." I had calculated only rough yearly amounts before then. I knew the full number would be more than either of us wanted spoken aloud. "I'll begin with the accounts." "That isn't what I meant." "I know." She let out a tired breath. "I should have told him." "Yes. You made it very easy not to." That landed because it was true. We agreed to meet the following evening, after Rosa took the children to dinner. Rosa was my former wife and Julian's mother. She watched Maya and Theo often enough that the arrangement would not seem unusual. I spent the next day preparing the transfer schedule. Old habits took over. I sorted each obligation by consequence. Non-essential services could stop first. Monthly accounts needed replacement payment information. Insurance required continuity. School expenses had deadlines. Annual renewals needed notice, so nobody confused the end of my payment with the end of the service. The accounts were in Julian's or Aaron's names. Aaron had added my dedicated checking account or card as an authorized payment method when we began the arrangement. Receipts went to her email because she handled most of the household administration. Nothing about the setup was illegal or hidden from the companies. It was only hidden from my son. By mid-afternoon, I had a 6-page packet. Then I removed the cover sheet that said Transition Summary and replaced it with one sentence. "I should have told you a long time ago." That evening, Julian sat across from me in a work polo with the solar company's logo stitched over his chest. Some months, his commissions were good. Other months had taught Aaron not to open financial emails after dinner. She sat beside him with both hands around a glass of water. I placed the packet on the table. Julian looked at it and then at me. "What is this?" Aaron spoke before I could. "Your dad has been helping with some of the household accounts." He turned to her. "I know he helped when I lost the job." "He kept helping." "How much?" I said, "There are 41 active obligations connected to my payment accounts." He stared at me. 41 what? 22 monthly. The rest quarterly, twice yearly, or annual. He looked at Aaron again. "What is he talking about?" She began naming categories. Electricity, insurance, phones, after-school care, the hospital payment plan. Julian's expression changed slowly. First confusion, then disbelief, then something flatter. "You told me the cards were almost under control." "They are lower," Aaron said. "Because he's paying the minimums?" "2 of them." "You told me the insurance came out of your separate account." "It does. His account funds the payment." Julian pushed his chair back a few inches. "How long?" 32 months, I said. He looked at me as though I had answered a different question. 32 months? "It began when you lost the salary position. I got back to work." "I know. Then why did it keep going?" because every time Aaron suggested ending it, I found a reason to wait. One quarter was weak. Maya needed braces. Theo broke his wrist. The car needed tires. Christmas was approaching. Julian seemed less defensive when he did not feel cornered. And they stayed close. I gave him the answer I could manage then. Your income was uneven. My income is my business. It became partly mine when I was paying the fixed costs. The instant I said it, I knew I had made the room smaller. Julian leaned back. There it is. What? You weren't helping. You were running the place. I never chose what you bought. You chose what stayed on. Only because somebody had to. Erin closed her eyes. Julian pointed at the packet. Did you two sit here and decide what I could handle? No, Erin said. It wasn't like that. What was it like? She swallowed. At first, it was 6 months. Then you had 2 bad commission periods. Maya's braces started. Theo got hurt. Every time I thought we were ready to stop, something else came. And you never told me? I tried to bring it up. I looked at her. Julian noticed. What does that mean? Erin's voice became steadier. Your dad thought knowing would make you feel ashamed. I agreed longer than I should have. After a while, telling you meant admitting I had already hidden it for a year. Then 2 years. You lied to me. Yes. She did not soften it. Julian stood and walked to the sink, though there was nothing there he needed. I explained the 45-day schedule. No essential service would be left without time to replace the payment method. The accounts remained theirs. As each payment transferred, I would remove my card or checking information and give up any portal access Erin had authorized. Julian kept his back to me. How much? Julian, Erin said. He turned around. How much has he paid? I had calculated it that afternoon despite Erin's request. About $57,000. The number sat there like a piece of equipment nobody had ordered, but everyone now had to move around. Julian looked at me. You kept a total? I keep records. Of course you do. It matters what this cost. It matters to you because you want me to know what I owe. I didn't ask you to repay it. You didn't ask me anything. That ended the useful part of the meeting. He went outside. Erin remained at the table. You did exactly what I asked you not to do, she said. He asked. And you were ready. I gathered my notes, then left the packet where it was. At the door, Erin said, the worst part is that he really thought we were making it. I drove home with the radio off. During the first week, most of the changes were digital. I removed my payment method from 2 entertainment services and a roadside plan. A security company notice told Erin that a replacement card was required. The phones transferred without interruption. Nothing dramatic happened, but every confirmation email made the arrangement more visible. Julian did not call. At the community food warehouse, Deshawn stacked canned tomatoes in the wrong section. I started to show him a faster system, then stopped with my hand on the first box. You'll find your rhythm, I said. He looked suspicious. You feeling all right, Mr. Valdez? Temporary condition. I walked away before I reorganized the whole palette. Rosa called that afternoon. Julian told me. I assumed he might. He used more words than that. Rosa and I had been divorced 14 years, long enough to be civil without confusing civility for closeness. She knew my strengths. She had also lived through them. We met at a small restaurant on 4th Street. She ordered tea. I ordered coffee. Neither of us needed a menu. He had no right to speak to you that way about the trailer, she said. Thank you. And you had no right to arrange his life without his knowledge. I paid bills. I didn't arrange his life. Rosa tilted her head. That sentence sounds exactly like why we divorced. We divorced for more than one sentence. Yes, you had whole paragraphs. I almost smiled. She stirred her tea. Do you remember when Julian was 17 and wanted to quit the grocery store because his hours got cut? I told him not to walk away until he had another job. You told him that when people see a man struggling, They begin deciding what he can't be trusted to do. I remembered the sentence. At the time, it had sounded like discipline. Rosa continued. Then, when he actually struggled, you made sure he never had to admit it. I was trying to protect him. You were protecting the part of him you helped build. I looked toward the window as a delivery truck moved through the intersection. She lowered her voice. Tom, you always believed the person who understood the system should make the decision. At the hospital, that may have kept people safe. At home, it made everybody else feel like a department. That's not fair. No, it's familiar. I told her about the 45-day schedule. That part sounds responsible, she said. I'm glad something does. Ending it is responsible. Pretending generosity was your only reason is not. I did not answer. Rosa reached for her purse. Also, stop putting Aaron between you and Julian. I did that job for 20 years. It doesn't come with benefits. Julian called 11 days after the kitchen meeting. We're doing a budget Saturday, he said. Aaron thinks you should explain the renewal dates. Do you want me there? A pause. Yes. For the dates. Not to decide what we keep. I understand. I mean it. So do I. Saturday morning, their dining table was covered with bank statements, account notices, a yellow legal pad, and 2 calculators. Julian had made coffee. Aaron had already divided expenses into categories. I sat at the end of the table with my hands folded. They began with the easy cuts, the storage unit, 2 software subscriptions, a roadside plan, a meal delivery membership they rarely used. The larger decisions took longer. They argued over the SUV. We owe more than it's worth, Julian said. That doesn't make the payment affordable, Aaron answered. It makes selling it expensive. Keeping it is expensive every month. I knew 3 possible approaches. I knew which numbers to compare and which lender questions mattered. I said nothing. Julian noticed. You have an opinion. I have several. Then say them. You asked me to explain dates. He rubbed both hands over his face. Dad. I waited. Finally, he said, what would you look at first? That was different from taking over. I pointed to the balance, monthly payment, insurance cost, and likely repair expenses. I showed them how to compare 1 more year of keeping it with the cost of replacing it. Then I moved my chair back. You decide. He gave me a look that said he did not fully trust this new behavior. Neither did I. The meeting lasted 3 hours. By the end, they had reduced enough expenses to absorb several transferred payments, but not all of them. Aaron gathered the papers into piles. Julian stayed seated. There's something else, he said. He reached into a folder and pulled out a printed email. 18 months earlier, a medical distribution company in Las Cruces had offered him an operations position, fixed salary, benefits, predictable hours, less upside than a strong commission year. But no months where 1 delayed contract changed the whole household. I turned it down, he said. I didn't know you had an offer. No, you didn't. I read the date again. Why did you turn it down? Because moving Maya would have been hard. Because Aaron helps her mother here. Because I thought we were staying above water. Aaron looked down at the table. Julian tapped the papers in front of us. I asked if we could afford to stay. She said yes. I said we were managing, Aaron said. You said we were stable. I was afraid you'd accept the first stable job that took us away. Maya had finally settled at school. My mom had just stopped driving after dark. I kept thinking we needed 6 more months. It was a better job. It was 3 hours away. Julian looked at me. Did you know she was using your money to tell me we were stable? No. But you knew I didn't know you were paying. Yes. You knew money might be the reason I had to leave Albuquerque. I felt the answer before I wanted to say it. Yes. The room became quiet. The payments had not merely kept the electricity on or covered insurance. They had helped hold the family in place. Not by force, not by contract. by making one choice look safer than it truly was. I thought of Sunday meals, Maya texting me photographs from school, and Theo leaving his backpack in my apartment every Wednesday. I had told myself I was protecting stability for them. I had also been preserving access for me. I didn't know about the offer, I said. Julian's voice was tired. You didn't need to. You built the conditions. I wanted to argue that Aaron had chosen too, that Julian should have reviewed the accounts, that his own avoidance had made the secret possible. All of that was true. None of it removed my part. I helped create a picture that wasn't real, I said. Julian watched me, waiting for the defense that usually followed. I did not add one. 2 days later, Maya came to my apartment to help sort photography equipment for the trip. She sat cross-legged on the floor with 3 camera bags open around her. You don't need 4 lenses, she said. That is a hurtful and uninformed statement. You use the same 2 every time. I like the others to feel included. She smiled, then turned a lens cap in her hand. Are we moving? I don't know. Mom says everything is being discussed. That sounds like your mother. Dad says nobody tells him anything until it's already decided. I sat on the edge of the couch. Maya, I'm not going to ask what they say when I'm not there. I know. And I'm not going to ask you to carry anything back. I know that too. She put the lens cap on the correct lens. I'm mad at all of you. That seems reasonable. You paid for my photography class. Yes. I thought Mom found a discount. She may have. I paid what remained. That is still paying. Yes. She looked at the camera in her lap. Was I supposed to say thank you for something I didn't know? No. That answer came easier than most. She zipped the bag. Good, because I don't know how to feel grateful and mad at the same time. You don't have to choose one. She nodded, but neither of us felt better. The 45 days moved according to schedule, whether the family was ready or not. The phone service and security account transferred first. They canceled the storage unit, sold the SUV, and bought a used sedan with a lower payment and cheaper insurance. 2 smaller subscriptions disappeared. The hospital payment plan and Theo's after-school account followed. Insurance and utilities came last. Each time Aaron logged into an account, entered their new payment information, and confirmed that it worked, I removed mine. Every portal asked some version of the same question. Are you sure? Computers have a talent for asking what people avoid. I clicked yes. The first month without their bills was quieter than I expected. No alerts at 6 in the morning. No notice that a card would be charged. No green marks waiting to turn gray. I had thought the quiet would feel like freedom. Mostly, it felt as though nobody needed me before breakfast. I prepared the trailer anyway. I replaced the cabinet hinge, tightened the table leg, checked the tires, and bought a paper road atlas, even though my phone knew every road better than I did. I planned to follow pieces of old Route 66 west through Gallup and into Arizona, stopping wherever the signs looked older than the buildings beneath them. Then Julian called. The Las Cruces company reached out again, he said. The same company? They're expanding the hospital accounts team. The manager who interviewed me before kept my information and asked if I'd reconsider. The same type of position. Operations coordinator. Better salary than last time. Benefits. Regular hours. That sounds closer to what you're good at. You mean not sales. I mean systems. He was quiet for a moment. They want an answer Monday. What does Erin think? She doesn't want to leave her mom. Maya doesn't want to change schools. Theo thinks Las Cruces is another country. That sounds like Theo. We ran the numbers. I waited. If we stay here, we're short. Not the way we were before. We made cuts. Erin can increase her hours some, but not enough to cover everything and still help her mother. I can keep doing solar, but there isn't much room for a weak quarter. And Las Cruces? Smaller rental, stable income, benefits. He took a breath. There's another option. I knew what was coming and still felt my chest tighten. If you kept 7 of the bigger payments for 1 year, we could stay. Electricity, insurance, phones, after-school care, the hospital plan, and the 2-card minimums. We would handle everything else. He had done what I claimed I wanted. He had come to me openly. He had named the amount, the time limit, and the reason. There was no trick in the request. That made it harder. How much a month? $886. Julian had learned his numbers. $886 was less than half of what I had been paying. It was also the price of Sunday meals, Wednesday afternoons, school events, and an apartment close enough for Theo to leave his backpack in it. When do you need an answer? Sunday. We agreed to meet the following morning at the trailer lot. Julian said he wanted to see what still needed fixing before my trip. When he arrived, I was checking the hitch lock. He stood beside the trailer and put his hands in his pockets. I shouldn't have said you were living too large. I looked at him. Not because of the bills, he added. Even if you hadn't paid a dime for us, it wasn't my place. Thank you. He nodded toward the trailer. You really taking this all the way to Arizona? That is the current plan. You hate sleeping anywhere without your own coffee maker. The trailer has a coffee maker. That thing has an electrical cord and a thread. I laughed before I meant to. Then the laughter was gone. I want you to stay, I said. He looked at me. I want Maya clothes. I want Theo dropping crumbs in my truck. I want you near enough that I can pretend I'm calling because I cooked too much. You don't have to pretend. I usually do. He looked down at the gravel. Part of me wants to pay the 7 bills, I continued. I could do it for a year. His shoulders eased slightly. And that is why I can't. He looked up. If I pay them, I'm not only helping with electricity, I'm helping decide where you live. I did that before without admitting it. I won't do it again. It wouldn't be only your decision. No. But my money would make the answer look easier than it is. He kicked a small stone aside. So that's it. That's my answer. His jaw tightened. I said, I was wrong to hide the first arrangement from you. I was wrong to ask Aaron to keep it quiet. I taught you that needing help meant you had failed. Then I helped in the one way that guaranteed you could never admit you needed it. You were protecting yourself too. Yes. The word was heavy, but it was not complicated. I liked being necessary, I said, and I liked all of you nearby. Julian looked toward the long rows of trailers. You know what made me angriest? The spreadsheet? The fact that I was proud of us. I thought we had made it through. You were working. You were paying the rent. You were raising your children. With a floor under me I didn't know was there. Yes. He rubbed the back of his neck. I still don't know what to do with that. You don't have to do anything for me. That sounds convenient. It probably is. He almost smiled. I unlocked the storage compartment and took out a pair of work gloves. If you take the job, I'll help you move. You can use the trailer for boxes. I'll compare moving estimates if you ask. I'll visit. I'll answer the phone. But no bills. No bills. What if something really goes wrong? Then you tell me the truth. We decide what help means, how long it lasts, and who knows about it. He studied me for a moment. Then he nodded once. On the 45th day, Julian and Aaron came to my apartment. We sat at the kitchen table, where I had first opened the spreadsheet after the trailer lot. The final saved payment method was connected to their auto insurance account. Aaron had already entered their new card and confirmed the next draft. She logged in. I removed my card while both of them watched. The screen asked if I was sure. I clicked yes. No music played. Nobody applauded. The lights stayed on. Julian stared at the screen. That's all of them? All 41. He stood. We're taking the job. I had expected the answer, but hearing it still felt like a door closing somewhere in the apartment. When? Start date is in 5 weeks. I nodded. Aaron said, Maya wants to finish the semester before she transfers. The company agreed Julian can commute for the first few weeks. That will be a long drive. We know, Julian said. I almost began solving it. Fuel costs, temporary lodging, departure times. Instead, I asked, "What help do you want from me?" He looked surprised. "Can we borrow the trailer for the move?" "Yes." "And your hand truck?" "Yes." "Nothing with money." "I heard you." He left without hugging me. Erin did, briefly. At the door, she said, "I'm sorry." "So am I." I should have told him. I should not have made silence the easiest choice. She nodded. "We're doing one money meeting a month now. You don't need to report that to me." "I know. I wanted you to know I'm not carrying it alone." That was different. The weeks before the move were practical and strained. Julian completed onboarding paperwork. Erin arranged to help her mother on alternating weekends. Maya researched photography programs near the new school. Theo asked whether Las Cruces had larger lizards. I helped only when asked. Living that short sentence took effort. I carried boxes without deciding what should be thrown away. I reviewed only the rentals Julian sent me. I answered Erin's questions about trailer weight without reorganizing the move. The morning they left, the trailer looked different behind Julian's sedan than it had behind my truck. Less like an indulgence, more like help that everybody could see. Maya climbed into my truck with her camera bag. "You still going on your trip after this?" she asked. "That is the plan. Dad thinks you'll turn around at Las Cruces. Your father has underestimated this trailer before." She smiled. Theo rode with Julian and Erin. Rosa followed in her own car with bedding and food. We drove south on Interstate 25, the land opening around us in long brown stretches. At the new rental, I carried boxes until my back reminded me I was no longer 30. Julian assembled Theo's bed. Erin and Maya negotiated which room had better afternoon light. Rosa began lining up kitchen supplies without asking where anybody wanted them, proving none of us had transformed completely. By late afternoon, the house looked less like a shipment and more like a place people might live. Julian walked me to the trailer. "You heading back tonight?" "No, I'm continuing west in the morning." "From here?" I adjusted the route. He nodded and looked at the trailer. "Thanks for helping." "You asked." "I know." We stood there awkwardly. Finally he said, "Drive safe." "You too." He laughed once. "I live here now. That may take me a while." He hugged me then. "Not for long." "Long enough." I spent that night at a campground outside Las Cruces. The trailer table still wobbled, though less than before. I made coffee in the machine Julian had insulted and sat outside while the Organ Mountains changed color in the evening light. For the first time in years, nobody else's payment was scheduled to leave my account the next morning. I had expected to feel lighter. Instead, I felt the exact distance between Albuquerque and the people I loved. Then I drove. I followed old roads west, photographing motel signs, empty service stations, and buildings that had outlived the businesses beneath them. Many signs still promised vacancy, full service, or rooms that no longer existed. Our family had displayed stability in much the same way. We ate together. The children stayed in their schools. Julian worked. Erin balanced the accounts. I arrived with food and fixed whatever was loose. Underneath, 41 payments were doing work nobody named. The relationship did not repair during my trip. Julian and I spoke twice. Once about a school form Theo needed, and once because I had accidentally left my good flashlight in a moving box. That was all. For the first few months after the move, our calls stayed practical. Travel times, school dates, weather. Whether Theo's jacket was still in my apartment. I visited every 3 or 4 weeks. Sometimes they came north. The visits were less frequent than before, but they were planned. Nobody pretended I had stopped by because I happened to be near Las Cruces. Maya sent me photographs from her new school. She joined a student arts program and submitted a series on old storefronts. She did not ask me to pay the fee. I did not offer. At Christmas, I gave her a used lens we had discussed for months, a gift, named and visible. Theo learned that Las Cruces was not another country and that its lizards were ordinary-sized. Aaron and Julian kept their monthly financial meeting. I knew because Julian mentioned it once, not because Aaron reported to me. They built a small emergency fund. The hospital payment plan ended. The card balances came down slowly. Julian's new job suited him. He was better at operations than at waiting for strangers to sign contracts. Once he stopped avoiding the numbers, he understood systems well. 11 months after the trailer lot, we sat on his back step after Maya's student photography display. She had 3 photographs mounted in black frames. One showed the trailer parked beside an old motel sign outside Gallup. Julian handed me a bottle of water. "I was wrong about you living too large," he said. I looked at him. I already apologized for saying it. I mean, I was wrong about what I thought I knew. I was wrong about what you needed. He nodded. "I'm still angry you kept it from me." "You should be. And I'm angry at myself for not knowing what our life cost. That part belongs to you." He gave me a sideways look. "You've gotten better at not taking everything." "I'm practicing." He told me he had received his first annual bonus. "I want to pay you back for the hospital plan," he said. "Not everything. I couldn't. But that one." I thought for a moment. "No." His expression tightened. "Not because I want to be noble," I said. "Put it in the emergency account you and Aaron built. Let it do the job it should have done in the first place. You don't want proof I'm grateful?" "I used to. And now? Now I want you to know where your own floor is." He looked across the yard. "All right," he said. That was the closest we came to settling the old balance. It was enough. At the food warehouse, Deshaun eventually became the volunteer who trained new people. One afternoon, I watched him show a teenager how to log damaged cans. The boy made a mistake. Deshaun saw it and waited. The boy checked the count again and corrected it himself. "You noticed?" I said later. "Yeah. You didn't fix it." He needed to see it. I nodded. That remains difficult for me. I still help my family. I drive to Las Cruces. I carry boxes. I take Theo to breakfast. I study Maya's photographs when she asks. I answer Julian's questions, and sometimes I tell him I do not know. What I no longer do is build an invisible system underneath their lives. The trailer still sits in the same storage lot when I am home. The brown stripe is no prettier. The table still needs tightening now and then. According to Julian, the coffee maker remains a fire hazard. But every time I hitch it to the truck, I remember what it carried. First, the plans I kept postponing. Then, my family's belongings as they moved toward a life they could actually afford. And finally, me. For most of my working life, I believed good planning meant filling a shortage before anybody else had to see it. With my son, I kept filling the shelf so quickly that he never learned it was becoming empty. The 41 payments kept his household running. Removing them forced all 3 of us to see what the system truly cost, who had been carrying it, and which choices belonged to whom. My family lives farther away now. But when Julian calls, neither of us has to pretend it is about a bill. If you have ever tried to help someone without taking over the life they are supposed to be building, share what you learned. And subscribe to Wise Dad Stories for more stories about family, responsibility, and the difficult choices that change both.